not going to do this for too long, but this is basically, by the way, over 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. This is not me punching down. He is pretty damn popular in both the United States and in Canada. And I have a shocking revelation about this dude and a big a very famous United States politician who's actually in cahoots with him, to say the least.
In this video, I'm going to make 10 statements that I hold to be true, followed by a brief explanation explaining my position on each statement. I will warn you, however, if you are easily triggered, you should know that I am a white, heterosexual, cisgender Christian male. It is undeniable truth that humans are either born male with XY chromosomes or female with XX chromosomes, and no amount of surgery, drugs, or cosmetics will ever change that. This is simply a fact.
Well, let's, I notice Mix Vivian Wolf is in this chat here, so please correct me if I'm wrong, Mix Vivian Wolf, but what we got here is the old-fashioned there are two genders argument, and of course he's conflating gender and sexuality, and sex is the same thing, which they are not, and gender expression is even something separate from both, but there aren't even in fact two genders. There's actually, I believe, there's like 5 different variations, and right off the bat I think there's a third one that could be easily explained to him. Not that, of course, any of this is going to matter in the long run when he's talking about this. But yeah, he's basically going to be talking about how we got XY and YY, and those are the only 2 possible combinations that human beings can experience. So everything else is false.
Hermaphrodites do exist, and there are other extremely...
Oh, so he corrected himself in real time, less than like a couple seconds later. It's like 5 seconds later. Yeah, hermaphrodites do exist, and there are other variations of which is directly refuting my point, but hey.
Transgender acceptance has already led to politicians putting pen to paper with legislation like...
So anyways, this is pretty extreme bigotry. This is his, like, channel trailer. This is the trailer that if you went into his channel, this is the first thing, so he explains, he wants you to get to know him, alright? This is kind of an entry into his mind. And these are the 10 things that I hold to be true. This was number 1. This was the first thing. Like, this is right out of the gates. This is the thing that I want everyone to know about. This is the most important thing. If you want to know me, and want to know anything about me, this is it. And now, after seeing his shirt, I now deeply regret wearing mine.
Like Bill C-16, the compelled speech law, which would force you to use someone's preferred gender pronoun. This is the policing of our language.
So Bill C-16 is the same one that you probably know a lot more from. Hold on, let's see if I can get him in here.
Clean up your room.
Yes, Mr. Jordan Peterson. And of course, he became famous for fighting it, saying that it was going to, use compelled speech, things of that nature. And I can tell you from experience, living in Canada, the amount of people who have gone to jail in Canada because of mispronouncing someone's pronouns, or sorry, even using the wrong gender pronouns as of now is 0. So anyone who doesn't know, Bill C-16 actually just extends the way hate crimes operate in Canada, and extends the definition of them to include members of the trans community. So members of the trans community now can't have acts of, say, genocide committed against them, or things like that. It doesn't force people to use compelled speech. You're still totally free to be a dick in everyday life if you want. An institution like a school does have a right to choose what their own codes of conduct are within a school. That's separate from the bill, but the bill does not make it illegal in Canada to misgender someone.
All right, statement number 2. Life begins at conception upon fertilization. The line must be drawn at conception, and therefore a life is present at any and every stage of the fetus's development. Therefore,
I mean, I don't really need to debunk all this. I'm pretty sure I'm preaching to converted when I talk to everyone that he's basically advocating for state-enforced pregnancies. He wants women to be forced to carry children for his goals. I mean, that makes sense. There's a lot of overlap between these people and the whole women are walking egg farms for our use. So, I mean, it makes sense. You've got kind of an incel-y style culture there. But I don't think he goes far enough. Like, why are we stopping at conception? We should be preserving the sacred seed, because it is the seed of life. And so this man should never be allowed to masturbate until the end of time, unless he's going to be using that to infertilize a woman. So I think that's basically the only fair trade-off here. So this guy has basically put forth a decree, if you will, that he can never masturbate ever again, and we'll keep it at that. And that's basically what he's saying here.
If a woman stabs a baby with a knife immediately after it's born, it's called first-degree murder. But if she decides to do it, if she chooses to murder the baby before it is born, we call it a human right. Did you know?
So, yeah, but before we go forward with that, I don't know if you know this, but modern abortions aren't women stabbing themselves in the stomachs with knives. I mean, the science has come a long way since then. I don't think it was ever that. I'd like, maybe you've been watching too much Game of Thrones. He saw the red wedding scene and he's like, oh, wow, that's an abortion. I'd never seen one until I saw Game of Thrones, but now that I've seen an abortion, that's quite horrifying. I cannot abide by this horrific barbaric practice. My word.
Look, rape is a horrible, awful, ugly violation of someone's rights. But
there should not be a but after that. That's not a sentence that ever deserves a but. You don't say that those words can't come into your mouth and then you go, but.
If that leads to pregnancy, and your choice is to kill a completely innocent and defensive life, the most innocent of all life forms, I might add, if your choice is to terminate it because of the inconvenience of your violation, well, I would argue that that is worse than the rape itself. The bottom line is...
Oh. We're on rule 2. We're on rule 2 of 10. He's got 10 more to drop from on high, so... Yikes.
No one should get to choose when someone else should die due to inconvenience or any other circumstances.
I'm pretty sure most people don't consider rape an inconvenience. It's not like, oh, sorry about that. Yeah, that's too bad. Well, walk it off. Just go walk it off. And let's continue with that state-enforced pregnancy.
All right, statement number 3. White privilege is a myth, according to many on the left.
By the way, don't listen to him. Please don't go comment, because that helps him out. Even if you're going to hate comment, even if you're going to be like, you, sir, are wrong, and stop masturbating. You're ruining the seed of life. That helps him out in the algorithm. So don't do that. And don't ever play this video. I mean, this is still one view too many.
White privilege encourages its proponents to instead blame white people for all their problems, as well as any political, social, or cultural problems we're facing here in Western.
Ooh, wow. I mean, I've heard of straw men, but this is like a straw army. There's too many coming on at once. It's too many from on high. It's quite difficult. I mean, come on. That's not what white privilege is. And you're twisting it. Like he's really, really quickly twisting it that white privilege is a way of making minorities feel better about themselves when they fail at life because of white privilege. Again, I don't think you realize who this is pointed towards.
It's a racist concept that places all the blame for all the world's ills and your own personal problems on a single racial group. This is literally...
That's not how racism works, my dude, all right? I'm not even going to get to the whole power plus privilege thing, because I don't think we need to go down that rabbit hole, and I don't think he's going to understand it, but let's just say at the very end of the day, the white privilege problem, it's not in the direction that you think it's facing. It's not as a way to justify other people and their experience. It's a way to get you to acknowledge the ways that you may have advantages over other people based on the way society seems to have different forms of intersectionality. That's it.
If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comment section below. All right,
he's really plugging that. He really wants you to give it those comment section. Just by the way, if I could quickly explain this, because some people are often a little bit confused when I say like there's no such thing as the white race, but they're like, but wait, there's other races. I understand that. Well, technically, there's no such thing as any race. Race is a social construct. It's basically human beings' way of categorizing groups based on what we consider to be patterns. But if you look at, say, the Human Genome Project, they've thoroughly debunked the idea that there's any kind of biological variables that are enough to constitute things that we have clustered together as race. So the things we usually cluster together, which are ethnicities, are not in fact distinct biological differences between humans known as the races. One of the reasons historically why we like to say that the white race doesn't exactly exist is because the concept of race was, surprise, surprise, invented by white people. And it was, propagated through white literature in order to justify things like slavery. In order to justify slavery, which is basically, the enslavement of another human being, you had to do so by justifying why you were doing it. Why are you justifiably enslaving another human being? Well, I'm doing it because I'm a superior race. You see that there's different classifications of the races, and each one is a little bit more superior than the others. So we're going to classify them and rank them. And based on that, yes, I have, an inalienable human right in order to own, buy, and sell slaves like chattel. That's why.
Number 4. Capitalism is not the enemy of a free society, but rather it is a vehicle to get us there. You can become anything you want. You can develop a craft. You can become an entrepreneur. The Marx Society...
Hopefully you don't live in a reserve in a First Nations community in Canada where, you and your children could be drinking mercury. That's not an exaggeration. Mercury in the drinking water, where the conditions are so impoverished that it's very, very difficult, where the rates of diabetes, heart disease, alcoholism, they all skyrocket because of the systemic poverty that affects you. But, of course, you go out and do you remember when we were talking about white privilege? Because right now would be a really good time to teach them a lesson on that.
Hey, so anybody can partake in anything in this country. You can be anything you want, do anything you want, if you work hard enough. And
oh, cool. Sources? Because I don't see anything here. Maybe there's going to be sources in the description, right? No sources. Not a single one. I mean, there's some cryptocurrency links. He sources himself twice. So there's that. But it's mostly just merch and cryptocurrency. So I guess we could just take, the Nazi at his word that, of course, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, everybody.
And don't get me wrong, the divide between the rich and poor is a huge problem that needs to be addressed, but we need to focus on the root cause, which in my opinion is an overly dependent society, which has given the ability for banks to create loans based on nothing and then charge interest on those loans. The bottom line is what we have today is crony.
We got some ding, 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 ding. Oh, yes. The globalists and the bankers. And I'm sure we're going to get some names pretty soon. Let's just wait for it.
All right. Statement number 5. Overpopulation is a myth. Between 1950 and the year 2000, the world population grew at a percentage of 1.6%.
What are we on, number 5 now of his 10 things? This one's actually pretty true. I don't think he's going to bring up the other point that when it comes to overpopulation, it's usually a racist trope because they talk about it in relation to there's way too many people in India, way too many people in China, and the people who use up the most amount of resources are Westerners.
All right, statement number 6. Truth is absolute. There is no such thing as your truth, their truth, or my truth. There is only the truth and nothing more. And some describe what I'm talking about here as epistemology, which is the study of the nature of knowledge, justification, and the rationality of belief, the sources and scope of knowledge and justified belief, and the criteria for knowledge and justification. There is no such thing as your truth, my truth, or their truth. There is only the truth and nothing more. If you agree or disagree, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, statement number 7. Islamophobia is a nonsensical term. When an SJW, so the term Islamophobia needs to be rejected for the nonsensical term that it is. If you agree or disagree, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, statement number 8.
You don't need to say that after every question.
Feminism is a cancer, and the wage gap is a myth. So let's suppose there is a man and a woman, both with a productivity of $10 an hour, and the man is being paid $10 an hour because that's what he's worth, and the woman who's worth $10 an hour is being paid $7 an hour with a 30% wage gap. Therefore, she is being cheated out of $3 an hour. If that's true, I would ask, if you were running a business, which one would you hire? The one who is worth...
This is the argument that Maddox made like 6 years ago. He's going to say it. He's going to do that thing where it's like, so why doesn't every company just hire women? Because they can pay them less. Because that's how any of this works.
Most of these feminists mean well, but once again, they're wrong about who the real enemy is. It's not men, per se. It's the state. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comment section below.
It's the state.
Statement number 9. The threat of...
So we're getting close. So it's the state, of course, and the banks. Those are, of course, the two evil organizations. He hasn't used the word the cabal. He's been very careful about this. He's kind of massaging it. We're getting there, but we only have 2 left.
Climate change is a psychological operation being waged by elite globalists who seek to form a singular one-world government. Statement...
Told you he would say globalists. Told you. And it took 19 minutes, but we got there. So, the deep state, the banks, and there we have it, the globalists. Make sure you put it in brackets when he says it out loud.
If you agree or disagree, you know what to do. All right, last but not least,
I do. You've told me 9 times now.
Human beings did not evolve from apes. The more we learn about quantum physics and biology on the microscope...
Okay, so, I mean, it went out with a bang, not with a whimper. We had we learned about the globalist cabal, so we got that. So, yes, of course, dog whistles abound. Check mark. If we were doing bingo, we'd have every single one. And, yeah, we're ending on kind of a softer note, right?
I would argue that with what we've learned about in terms of quantum physics in the 21st century has, in fact, completely broken down Darwin's theory. Because of
wow, so what have we learned? Is he going to explain it? Is he going to explain string theory? Maybe quantum foam? Is he going to talk about, parallel universes? Anything to that effect? Or is he just going to talk out of his ass, use no sources, and then relate back to sound off in the comments? I mean, if you disagree with me, because you probably do, because what I'm saying is abject nonsense, sound off in the comments. Hopefully it doesn't help my video out.
We discovered these tiny molecular machines called the bacterial flagellum, which is a really complex machine composed of many parts, like a drive shaft, a rotor, a motor.
It's so tiring when creationists try to reclaim science for their own nefarious purposes. I've heard of this small biological machine. It's called mitochondria, as it were, and it transports coding, RNA strands, DNA strands. Clearly, the work of God. Because what but a god could create such things?
And this is an irreducibly complex machine, meaning all parts must be present at the same time for the machine to function as a whole.
So what he's basically done is he's taken the old, airplane in the tornado argument, which used to be very popular amongst creationists in the 90s, which is that when you see an airplane before you, surely you don't believe that a tornado that collected all the parts that would create an airplane could ever go together, smash those parts, and create a complex device such as an airplane. Such a thing would not be possible. And of course, any evolutionary biologist would respond to that. That's not how the theory of evolution based on natural selection works. That's not how it works at all. None of us have ever, presupposed or tried to, claim that this all of a sudden went from nothing to something. That's your job. That's what creationists do. This is a lot more of a game of incrementalism and trial and error. And over a period of billions of years, once you extend that time, then yes, you can have small little advances, but it's less about all of a sudden it appears the way you see before you, and more it evolves over time. Oh, hey, there's that word. Yeah. Someone put this, I'm going to say this is probably a Richard Dawkins quote, and I apologize because, we were just talking about Islamophobia, and I'm going to talk about Richard Dawkins, but he does have a very, very good book on evolutionary biology called, The Greatest Adventure? Or maybe it's The Greatest Adventure. Or he even says this in The Selfish Gene, where you have to think of it more as a codex. So think of evolution in terms of this. You have a 6-digit code and you want to discover what that code is, and all the numbers have been randomized. And so there are a couple ways you could go about that. You could try to just get the right code over and over and over, which would eventually be impossible, or whenever you get one of the letters right, it turns like green. So all of a sudden, it's like 00001, one was right, that's green. And then you keep going on. You would eventually get to that point, right? Because evolution, by natural selection, tends to favor things that increase the population of the organism that is getting that attribute. That's how it works. So one little slight advantage might be enough for you to propagate more, and that's not exactly going to give you the human being you see before you, but that might have given one other species a slight advantage, which helped them out in that environment and so forth. And then it continues over billions of years. The greatest show on earth. Thank you.
So therefore, natural selection and the theory of evolution may be able to explain the shape of the bird's beak, but it can never explain the bird itself. So that's my 10 statements on what I believe to be true. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of these. Let me know what you think, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
That's adorable. I like that he ended on it. That's old school. I haven't heard that in a really long time, because like even most modern people who want to be taken seriously, they'll keep that one. They'll hide their power levels. They might not hide the power levels when it comes to like the globalists, the bankers, the cabal, any of that stuff, but they'll hide the evolutionary part because it's embarrassing, because they don't want to be seen as fools. They don't want to stand before a crowd of people and have them all go like, we know that's wrong. Like, come on, dude. Like, grade like 4 science classes teach you why that's wrong. Did you not pick up on that? Well, that was horrible, and that was painful. Like we sat through so much terror, so much horror. Yeah, it's over. It's over.
Hey you. Yes, you. Do you like cozy environments with other wholesome people? Well then come join the Discord. It's got a whole bunch of stuff to help you with creative endeavors, such as stock footage, royalty-free music, and an amazing community of people looking to help each other out and uplift your content. Join the Discord now by going to weareserfs.com. That's weareserfs.com.
We would like to thank Miranda Marone. You are our monarch, and we thank you for our indentured servitude. We would like to thank our lords, Ricky Pilgrim, I'm Raft, Michaela Schmid, Tomospin, Farrer Tahone. You are all the pillars of our organization. To our Knights of the Square Table, Paul Parafit, Daniel Kahn, Clement Chutskoth, Alan R., Josh Mickelson, and Dr. Zayas, Cooper Pilot, Andrea Lynn Epperly, Dylan Bythe, Terry, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. And to our merchants, thank you for taking mercy upon us.